We need to come together and organize in a coordinated way to make sure voters understand what's happening in the real world. Look at these numbers. Anyone can talk about their own pet political issues. That's what I'm seeing on Twitter. Everyone's blaming Kamala. She didn't run on this progressive policy. She went too far left. She talked about pronouns, which she didn't at all. She never talked about pronouns or her race or her gender. But people are still blaming her for that. She campaigned with the Cheneys. She was too pro-Israel, too pro-Palestine. Everyone's blaming whatever their favorite issue is on what's happening. But it's very clear, and by all metrics, that voters not knowing what's happening in the real world and voters not knowing how government works is by far the biggest issue right now. And I don't even think it's propaganda to the right wing. I think it's a sort of, the Joe Rogan podcast and Elon Musk buying Twitter. It's not even about sharing propaganda. It's about disengaging everyone's critical thinking abilities and giving them very simple narratives and slogans to vote for. Donald Trump had zero policies. We know this. His voters were very low information. They don't know what him winning even means. They don't know what a tariff is. They don't know what a mass deportation does or what the results are. They don't know how much crime is actually being done by illegal immigrants. They don't really know much about anything. They come every 4 years and elect someone really bad. They don't talk about politics ever again. They treat it like it's NFL Sunday, and they want to share liberal meltdown compilations. And meanwhile, liberals and progressives are going to be fighting to make sure government runs properly. And liberals and progressives are going to be the reason they keep their health care, or the reason they got their health care, or through Biden's plans, the reason more factories opened up, the reason American manufacturing tripled, the reason America's leading the world economically after COVID is going to be from Biden. Trump's going to benefit from that. And it's going to be really sad that Trump's going to benefit yet again after benefiting from Obama's economy. Trump's going to benefit from Biden, and Biden suffered from Trump messing things up. So it's really not fair. But remember, and this is why we need to stay together and stay prepared and find out how we are going to do this effectively. Donald Trump's administration will fail. There will be infighting. They will fail eventually. It will not work. Their policies are terrible. They don't know how to run government. Things will go wrong eventually, at some point. And when they do go wrong, Democrats need to be ready. And this means if there's some privileged party leader having ego battles right now about leadership and you see it, make sure your voice is heard. Make sure that person knows we don't care about their privilege. We don't care, if they believe they should be a leader of the party because they've been here, because their parents have been here, because they believe in nepotism, because they were born in an upper class family. So now they were guaranteed a position as like a White House strategist and a campaign strategy guide or whatever. Make sure they know we need an actual strategy. We need to actually plan how to combat disinformation and misinformation on the right. We need an actual plan. And if they're not going to make a plan, we need to stay together. And I want to make a media environment where we support each other. Consider subscribing to my channel. I have memberships for $2.99. That's where they start at. To support the work I'm doing, we're going to focus on how to message, how we get education out to voters, and how we set the stage for Democrats to have a huge 2026. Everything we do matters. Change happens when 1 million people push in the right direction just a little bit. And there will be groups targeted by Trump first. Trans people and immigrants and undocumented people. So we need to make sure we do the best we can to be vocal about these issues when deportations do happen, when a local store does close down. We're going to be tracking egg and gas prices, I'm guessing, for the next 4 years, because we need to hold them to what they've done. Republicans are never held accountable. They're never held accountable ever for the things they do to the American public. And it's so sad that policy didn't matter this election. Donald Trump ran on zero policy. Zero policy. He repeated 3 or 4 word slogans and it worked. And I guess people just believed that inflation was bad because vibes. Sports gambling is at all-time highs. DoorDash is at all-time highs. And I know people, every Trump supporter I know posts about sports gambling like 20 times a week, by the way. So whether it's real or not, there are people who are mad about the economy. It's whatever. Trump had no policies to actually address the real economic issues right now. Groceries actually went down in cost over the past 4 years compared to where they were in 2019 versus real wages. But housing, healthcare, and childcare skyrocketed. And only Kamala had policies for those. No one cared. People repeated drill, baby, drill, not knowing Biden had more oil production than Trump did. Trump said he's going to lower prices. He gave no plan, and they didn't care. He just said, I'm going to cut prices by 200%, 300%, 1,000,000%. It's going to be cut in half. And no one wanted any solutions, including the media. No one cared. And I already mentioned the American economy has been the best since COVID. And Biden's policy record is the most impressive since FDR, succeeding in every metric. Domestic manufacturing tripled. The infrastructure bill that was passed is fantastic. Republicans are taking credit for that after voting against it. Biden stood for labor rights and supported unions more than any president before and got no credit. And not only did Biden do a good job, and Biden-Harris did a good job managing inflation better than any country, they somehow, their greatest accomplishments, globally recognized, by the way, in America were made to be a story of failure about Biden, so much that Harris talking about Biden was political suicide, which is wild. Elon Musk and Peter Thiel did implement the most advanced propaganda network in human history, blasting disinformation to voters' phones, falsely representing candidates, and of course Elon Musk bought an entire social media platform and transformed it into a propaganda machine with the support of Russia and Saudi Arabia. The information battle is the number one topic we need to focus on. Everyone's sense of what's real is being distorted and poisoned beyond recognition. The Harris campaign had a great ground game, knocking on millions of doors. Trump had no ground game. All it took was sending text messages, which were uniquely crafted based on each voter's information profile. And it canceled out all human interaction. Just blast them propaganda, and that could shut anyone's brain off. If you're pro-Palestine, you got a text from fake Kamala saying she wants to bomb Gaza as much as possible. If you're pro-Israel, you got a text from fake Kamala saying she wants to cut off funding from Israel to support Hamas freedom fighters. These messages covered so many topics, and many people got messages saying, hey, I'm Kamala, donate to me because I want to make sure your kids are trans. Whatever would scare the voter, they got a text message right to their phone. They didn't even need to go on Twitter. They got Twitter force-fed to them on these mailing lists and email lists and text lists. In a world where so many voters barely pay attention, interviews, media appearances, podcasts, door knocking, whatever you do, that messaging can be ruined easily. Trump ran one of the worst campaigns in American history with the worst economic plan ever proposed. Kamala ran a good campaign and even a great campaign for only having it running for 2 or 3 months. And I know Democrats could have done better. Everyone's a genius. Everyone knows exactly what Kamala could have done. 81-year-old Joe Biden could have just not ran again. There could have been a primary. But I promise these campaigns were nowhere close on policy, organization, and presentation. This race should not have been close. There is no factor to change this. This is bigger than we thought. We need to zoom out past our own personal ambitions and pet issues and realize the temperature in America has changed extremely for a reason, and we need to identify those actual reasons. We have tons of other races that also moved in this direction. The top 2 areas of focus, again, are how do we break this propaganda cycle? How do we establish alternative media? Right now, Trump supporters will believe almost everything if it does not affect them directly. That is very dangerous. That's the number one issue. Voters had no clear idea what they were voting on, and I have no idea how we begin to even think about Joe Rogan level influence, and I don't even know if that can be a reasonable goal. Maybe we need to bring back community and neighborhoods. I don't really know. Overall, I think we need more confident candidates with a powerful control of the microphone who doesn't seem rehearsed. And Kamala never got to speak confidently. She was being pulled in every direction, walking on eggshells with every single media appearance. When she did sound confident and she was talking through her own voice, when she used her own voice, it wasn't being pressured to represent, Cheney's, the Bernie Sanders's, Palestine, Israel, every interest group. She sounded great, but she never had a chance to speak confidently. You can go at her for that, but it's hard in a short campaign. She was never an amazing interviewer, but she is a pretty skilled politician. It was still a campaign. It was still a good campaign. Definitely was a campaign. But we need a more commanding speaker with the microphone. And I think even like an AOC or even a Gavin Newsom, someone who makes the case confidently. We need to stand for something. We need to pick things and stand for them. We need branding. We need to make sure voters understand, in general, what we are fighting for. We should have central areas of information for liberals and progressives so they can feel confident responding to right-wingers. I hear so many people say that their friend or family member brings up a conspiracy theory, but they are far too scared to respond Because unlike the right wing, us on the left typically want to consider our thoughts, other opinions, and do research, actual real research, before speaking too confidently on a topic. This means liberals get bulldozed in conversations. This is happening everywhere, especially on like college campuses where Ben Shapiro, like a 50-year-old debate lord, will go on there and just like yell at college kids. But really, organizations like Turning Point USA and other groups cannot go unchallenged on campuses anymore. We need all liberals and progressives to have a place they can go when they have a question in their head. What argument do I need for this scenario? We know what's going to be brought up. We need everyone to why is that not a thing? Why is that not a thing? Make it easy for people. Don't make everyone research things. We can get this information in an area that is easy to access. Make it easier to push back against the conspiracy theories. Politics is all about influence and how we can convince people to vote in a certain way, to believe in different causes, and how we turn energy into organizing and real political change ultimately. Things will be very different under this new Trump administration. We have no idea what politics will look like, if organizing will be safe and effective, what remaining checks and balances there are limiting Donald Trump's power. Will there be a scenario where doing politics is dangerous? Possibly. Of course, this will happen sooner for minority groups. First, undocumented immigrants. Trump will push to ban immigration and mass deportation on day one in office. Then trans people will be a focus. He wants to ban pronouns and also any gender-affirming care for any age. And after that, you can guess which groups are going to come next. But the question is, how far down the list of enemies will Donald Trump be able to reach before the public stands up in a real way? And I think 2026, there's so many Republican politicians who are going to be up for re-election. We need 2026 to be the biggest Democratic showing in 50 years in the House of Representatives. And we need to make sure we have a wipeout, a complete just domination based on the Trump year or two in office. And if Trump has a mandate and he has the House and the Senate, then hopefully Trump supporters will be able to see what they really just voted for. And that will cause many issues, but with those issues will come education, and we need to seize upon that. Because like I said, the public and the media might be the last check, and we need to make sure whatever is left of that is standing strong and make sure we do not disengage. Many people want to disengage. We cannot do that. We cannot do that. Republican politicians and business leaders in this administration do not want to lose power. They don't want to lose power. And, you know, I know everyone wants to take a step back and everyone is emotionally fatigued. But we need to stand back up. Take the time you need to be emotional. It's good to go through your emotions as a human. I know Republicans are scared of their emotions and they cry if they think about even having a thought or an emotion. But it's okay to do that. Regroup. But we gotta take a break, sit down, but we can't stay down for too long. Yeah, we gotta be ready. They're gonna mess up badly, and when they do, we need to be ready. And when good things happen from Biden's policies, we need to make sure people know these are Biden's policies at work. And yeah, let's hold them accountable this time. Let's do it. Let's do it this time. Let's win the war of information. We're not gonna do that, by the way, but let's try to do the best we can. And don't waste too much time on the conspiracy theorists in your life. If someone is aggressive towards you, aggressively dumb, arrogant, block them. Just block them. Go talk to someone who actually has the capacity to change their mind.